It's time for City Beat, your source for all the latest news on the City of Thompson. Only on 102.9 CHTM, your radio station.
Welcome to City Beat with Mayor Tim Johnston. It's our last chance to speak with Tim in his official capacity as mayor. So Tim, we'll start off in much the same way that we always do. What was happening last week?
Couple things that just want to touch base on in terms of events that I attended on October the 11th, Saturday night. I had the chance to go attend the home opener of the Norman North Stars, and this is a big year this year because it's the 30th anniversary, and that's tremendous accomplishment in terms of operating that team for 30 years. Kudos go out to the volunteers, current President John McNevin, as well as all the sponsors that have made this possible, and then of course the fans. And so it's great to see there were some players back that had played previously for the weekend. It was a great weekend to see. Scores might not have been what we wanted to see, but certainly good to be in the rink. It was a phenomenal crowd on Saturday night. Maybe that had to do with the weather and some of the special events, but encourage people to keep going out. And so I just want to acknowledge that 30th anniversary for the team, and I also want to acknowledge the 20th anniversary for Doug Corman as a coach. And boy, that's a tremendous commitment, and for someone to do that on a volunteer basis. And I know Doug has made a big difference in the lives of the players that have gone through the program, and I think that's what it's about. It's not just about hockey, it's about building young gentlemen in terms of going on and doing other things in their life. So it's a great program. My congratulations. Encourage people to get out and support the team. And then last night we had a real special opportunity along with Deputy Mayor Fensky, Councillor Locker, and City Manager Sepatelli. I attended Red Sangster's 90th birthday celebration. And Red has some health issues right now, but it was great to see him. His sense of humor is still there, and good visit. And it was a special visit for me because I presented Red with the key to the city for his outstanding contribution to recreation and sport. And, Red is an icon here in the community just in terms of the things that he's done and his history. It goes right back to Juniper Rink and building the outdoor diamonds. And I told a couple of the stories that are pretty neat. Red was responsible for naming the C.A. Nesbitt Arena. Red was responsible for building most of the parks. And certainly, sometimes we miss this, but the Thompson Reds are the Thompson Reds for a reason. Yeah. And then, of course, the Thompson Hawks, which were a senior hockey team that Red was general manager. So it was great to present that to him, and especially on his 90th birthday. And it was great to see him again. I've always enjoyed sitting down and talking sport with Red, and he's made a big difference in our community. So he deserved that key.
Wow, that's 2 keys in 2 weeks.
Absolutely, and it's funny, we were talking about this, I haven't awarded a lot of keys, and previous mayors had done significantly more, and for me, the key is significant. I don't use it as a promotional tool, as some do when a visitor comes to the community. I use it to recognize people that have really made a difference in the community. So both those individuals, I've thought about it for some time, that I wanted to recognize Dr. Rich and Red Sangster, because both on a professional basis as the mayor, but also on a personal basis, I've known both of them for a long time, and they've had an influence not just on the city, but also on myself personally. So it was nice to be able to do that. I think that's what builds community, and recognizing that history and heritage is important.
Okay, great. So just in case anybody hasn't heard, next week is the election, and by Wednesday evening, you'll no longer be mayor. So what time does that transition actually take place? Well,
actually, it's Thursday morning, I understand, at 11:59. That the office transitions, and I know that because in 2006 on the Thursday morning, and I will acknowledge it was probably a little foggy for me that morning, especially after the first victory, Lynn Taylor phoned me and said, "You are now officially the mayor as of 11:59, and so it's kind of neat. It's a transition. The mayor takes office without being sworn in, because the mayor has certain responsibilities for the municipality that have to continue before council as a whole will be sworn in, which I believe is going to be the first Wednesday of November.
Okay. And so I imagine that, like I said, the business doesn't stop for the city. Is there a certain timeline in which the transition is actually taking place? I can't imagine that the new mayor is necessarily going to have all the maybe skills and information and whatever that they might need to just jump into the job. So what is that transition plan or succession plan like?
Well, so what will take place, and we're fortunate that both candidates that are running for mayor have experience as councillors, so I think that is a huge benefit. But for all members of council, including the mayor, administration will be preparing briefing books on those key issues that we're currently dealing with. So many of the issues that you've heard about in the election, administration actually goes through and prepares a briefing on each of those. They will bring the new council together well before they're sworn in, likely for a session where they can provide those briefing binders and go through some of those, give them a chance to read them. And then the other one is that we've arranged that we've got an individual coming in for the new councillors, because we're going to have quite a few new councillors. And I know councillors in the past that have even been incumbents usually end up going to an AMM session, just in terms of what the role, because it's interesting, and you're in the middle of an election. I often tell people democracy is a very interesting thing. Getting elected is often very different than doing the job once elected. So part of the program is just making sure people understand what the role of council is as a governance body, and so that training will take place. I believe it's within the first 2 weeks as well. So really, administration plays a huge role in terms of providing the briefings, and then also in terms of bringing in some of the training sessions.
Okay, and are you there in any type of an advisory capacity, now that once you're not the mayor anymore, or is that just a personal thing that you will kind of set up with the new mayor?
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing, because really there is technically not an official role to play. However, I think that for me, this is one of the really interesting things. In Thompson's history, we've never really had a mayor that remains in the community after their mayor. The only one that I can really recall likely is in terms of having decided to stay and leave office without being removed from office.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting how it plays out. I'll certainly be available, but I think it's important, I really do, that this is a new council. They have to be given the opportunity to do what they want to do. I've told people my goal is to be a normal citizen. I'm not going to, I've told people, kick me in the butt if I am, and I don't want to be one of those guys that shows up at City Hall. I had my chance. Yeah. I loved it. But it's done. It's this group's opportunity to take it and go where they want to go.
Okay. And is there a big learning curve to go from a councillor to mayor?
Unbelievable. So it's interesting. In 2000,
what kind of warnings do you have?
Well,
or advice?
Yeah, it's interesting. In 2006, and everyone runs thinking, "Oh, I know what I'm going to do. This is going to be easy. What, this and that." I'll tell you, it is a phenomenal difference. And a little quick story. I remember, and some may recall, when I was elected as a councillor, former Mayor Kamaski and I had some interesting debates. About a year into my first term as mayor, I met with Bill in Winnipeg, and I apologized to him. I said, Bill, I never understood the difference in the role of being mayor versus councillor. And Bill was phenomenal, and we had a good chuckle over that. And we met every year after that at the mining conference. He was always available if I needed advice, as Tom Farrell has always been as a former mayor as well. And I think that might be a little bit of the role in terms of that. But yeah, there's a big difference, and I think that it's about willing to learn, willing to understand, talking to other mayors in the province. I mean, some of the people, Mayor Mike Spence was phenomenal with me, and in terms of learning some things, and I think that's a big part of it. And quite frankly, it's the administration. You have to trust your administration. They're paid professionals. We have a phenomenal administration. I had the benefit. Lynn Taylor was city manager when I came in, and she was tremendous with me showing. And it was interesting. It was a growing experience, understanding that many people think the mayor can go decide to do something. Well, you can't. Decisions of council are made by resolution, but the mayor has a responsibility to lead and bring those things to council. And so you have to understand that process. And I had to learn that, because I think many people who run think, well, I'm going to do this, and this, and the mayor can do that. Well, you can't do that. And any influence you actually have as the mayor is usually earned through relationships, communication, and with respect, whether that's with your employees, whether that's with the community, whether that's with outside people. So it's a learning experience, but there is a huge difference.
Okay, so how long were you into your mayorship, I guess I'll say? Were you, before you could honestly say you had a handle on the expectations and felt comfortable?
I would say it was probably, I would think a year or two, in all honesty. And it was funny, and I wasn't even sure I was going to run for the second term. And one of the reasons I did was my belief that I had to stand up and take responsibility for some of the major decisions we had made in the first term. And then I realized that it became a lot easier. The second term, believe it or not, despite some people's thoughts, was significantly easier for me as the mayor than the first term, because I had a much better understanding. And you get lots of theatrics at council meetings every second Monday, but really, the city will continue to operate, and it does operate it because we have a great administration, and so you learn to manage those things, and you go forward. So it takes a little while to get comfortable. Again, we've got people that sat on council before, so that helps. But you have to make it your own as well. I think it's really important that when you're in that job, you pay respect to those that came before you, but you have to make it your own, and you have to feel comfortable with what you're doing. Because at the end of the day, I'll tell you this, and I tell anyone who's running, you will never remember the specific resolutions that you had the great debates on. You never will. You'll remember whether you were consistent and you felt good about doing what you believed was right. And I think that that's the most important thing, and that's a comfort level when you're at that point when you know that you're doing what you believe is right. And so it takes a little while, but it's a great feeling when you get there.
Okay. And what words of advice do you have for the incoming mayor?
I think, again, be yourself. I think be patient. I always use the example, two things. One is patience, and I was not a patient individual when I was elected in 2006, but whether you're dealing with any other level of government or even locally, patience is a virtue, believe me. Things will not happen as fast as you think they will. And the second one, I think, is you need to be direct. And so those sometimes are conflicting, but you need to be absolutely direct in terms of where you want to go and what you want to do. And then make it your own, and work with council, be open, be accessible. And I find that, it's amazing. You get lots of rhetoric on the Facebook pages and stuff like that, but we're a small town and city, and we're a great city, but we're great because of the relationships and people being able to stop you. And I never wanted to be known as the mayor. I wanted to be known as Tim. And I think that that's huge, because that's what allows you to do things. And the other one, the last one, I guess, is, and I tell anyone on council, is be clear, be consistent, and understand. You will never make everyone happy. There's some people that will never be happy, whether that's ideology or a philosophical approach. That's okay. That's the business you got in. Everyone says you need a thick skin. I didn't have a thick skin. It bothered the heck out of me. Let me tell you, Tammy knows best. There were many nights I couldn't sleep because it bothered me. But you have to be able to believe you're doing what you believe you want to do. And I think you get in, you get out, and you move on.
All right. Well, that's very good. Is there anything coming up in the next week that you'd like to tell people about?
Well, hey, it looks like the weather is going to hold on, so there's lots of good things happening out in the community. Get out, get involved. I know for myself, I'm going to try and catch up on some of the work around the house that I haven't done. And the biggest advice I have for anyone in the next week is, whether it's Friday or whether it's next Wednesday, is get out and vote, because I've said it before, we're in the mid-40s in terms of a turnout. That means the likelihood whoever wins is coming in with probably less than 20 or 25% of the support of the community. And that's not enough. I think that I'd love to see us get up to 60. I think that that's where we should be in terms of a turnout. I think that, this is the opportunity, and you hear so much of the rhetoric, but you're electing people, and we have a great slate. I'm impressed with the slate of people that we have, get out, express your view, and then support council. And I know we're going to disagree at times, but you know what? This is your opportunity to let your voice count, and I think it's the most important part of the society we live in terms of democracy. So get out and vote.
All right, well, that's good. On that note, we'll wrap up this edition of City Beat with Mayor Tim Johnston, and good luck with your future endeavors, Tim, as you get back to a hopefully less demanding way of life. For 1029 CHTM, I'm Sue O'Brien.